Hello there, this is Rachel, the Modern Shaman, and I'm going to answer another Q&A question today. Before I do, and before I hop into it, I'll remind you that you can access these videos if you just subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Modern Shaman, and that if you want to connect with me, you can visit my website, which is just themodernshaman.net. Okay, sorry about that cough on the microphone. Here we go. Let's jump into the question. So, the question is about past lives. And it says, how do past lives affect our current bad habits? And how can you change them? Okay. Which kind of brings into question the idea of karma. I'm always hesitant to use that term karma, mainly because just with all religious terms, there's a lot of dogma connected to it and assumptions that we don't even realize we have, but we do. And what I believe that karma is basically just the balancing of negative and positive energy, just like a seesaw. You know, there's no judgment on either side of this. It's just a seesaw, and it's trying to come into its equilibrium. And so this is karma, or this is past life patterning. And that's what I call it, what I like to call it, because when I see it in my, third eye sight, in my internal sight, my psychic vision, whatever you want to call it, and I see someone's past life, usually those past lives come up in a reading with me if a person is dealing with a karmic or past life energetic pattern that they are still working through. And so I'll see that past life because it gives me a little more illumination into whatever problem it is that they're trying to solve or work through. Again, it's not like you did something bad, so you got to pay the price in this life. It's not that type of balancing. It's more of a pattern, and I've explained it this way too, that when I see it, it looks like a frequency pattern, like a scalar wave. And those waves are created by, say, energetic rocks or blocks of matter, or decisions that we've made, or thoughts that we've carried for a long time, that essentially drop into the energetic soup and make ripples, right? And the heavier that drama, the bigger the ripples. And so these are the energetic patterns that we fall into. Say, for instance, we've had a past life where we were betrayed by someone that we deeply loved. Say it was our wife or husband that betrayed us, turned us over to the authorities, and we were killed. That's a big dramatic turn of events. And so this feeling of betrayal energetically is kind of set a pattern. And so you may have a number of lives. And remember, I'm talking about this sequentially in 3D, but in essence, from Spirit's point of view, these are all simultaneous lives. Time does not exist like that. It's only relevant for us so that we be able to experience progression or expansion, lessons. And so those patterns play out. They may unconsciously play out in our life. So we may get into relationships, say the example that I used, and constantly be afraid that they're going to cheat on us, that they're going to betray us, that they're going to turn against us, and you just have this guttural fear. It doesn't really make a lot of mental sense, but it's just there. And you seem like you can't get away from this fear that they're somehow going to turn against you. Those are energetic patterns that we've set up, or karmic issues that we're dealing with, patterns, frequencies, whatever you want to call it, whatever makes sense to you. And we're in that groove. It's like a groove in a record. Sometimes we just keep going around. We're in that groove, and until we recognize it, we don't transform it. We just it lives in our kind of subconscious and patterning, and it just lives its rippled life out. Now, how to change those patterns, the second part of your question, is the recognition. You recognize those patterns, and you end the cycle, and you change the vibratory pattern, which, in all honesty, if you truly know this, you can change it like that. Just like that. You can. If you have that awareness. Now, a lot of us are not living at that high state of awareness, but in essence, you can change a belief just like that. And the only thing holding you back from believing you can change the belief is your belief that you can't change the belief. You with me? It can just be a flip of a coin. You can just flip that vibrational pattern and do the opposite. It can be that easy. If that doesn't seem relevant for you, or that seems unreachable while I'm talking about it, if inside of you somewhere you're constricting, you can work at that pattern. First, knowing that it's just an irrational pattern, or something that kind of played out in a past life that's reoccurring, helps you to, again, recognize it and desire change. And the first start to changing those ripples is just desiring change. Sorry, y'all can probably hear that in the background. It's summertime, so my kids are home and they are playing upstairs. But awareness already puts in a new frequency within that vibrational pattern. And once you know something, you can't unknow it. And so you're already, in essence, changing that in a positive way and ending that cycle. And it's just consciously being aware of it. Every time that pops up, I'm going to use that example again. Anytime that fear of a loved one betraying you comes up and it's triggered, maybe they are talking to a policeman, maybe they got pulled over and you see them talking to a policeman and suddenly it's triggered and you're like, oh my God, you have this fear that they're going to be telling on you or something. It's just something weird. Or your taxes. You have this feeling that they're going to betray you and turn you into authorities. And, when those triggers pop up, just recognize it as a trigger, identify it as a past life pattern, and then choose in that moment to not continue in that pattern. Oh, that's just past life stuff. I've actually already went through that. I've actually already died from that betrayal. It's not really relevant for this life. It's not really relevant for this relationship. I don't really want it here anymore. It's just not relevant for my experience. And just having that awareness changes and flips that pattern. It's that easy. And don't tell yourself otherwise. Okay. Just sitting, making sure Spirit's okay with my answer. There's something else that I need to say on this. Let me see. Okay, so Spirit just wants me to remind you one last thing, not to judge yourself for these patterns. You are your only judge. So don't do it. So don't judge yourself. You don't have to. You've seen the pattern, just like a pattern in math or something like that. It's just a pattern. There's no judgment attached to it. It's a mathematical equation. Flip the equation. Okay? Don't have to attach good or bad or evil or loving, right or wrong to any of it. It's a pattern. Change the pattern if it's not relevant for your experience. I love you. Be blessed.